In today's video, I wanted to begin my journey through the Companion's questline featured in the Elder Scrolls V Skyrim. The story surrounds a band of warriors. In exchange for gold, they carry out quests and jobs for the people of Skyrim, quite like the Fighters Guild faction. On the outside, they seem like a normal group of fighters. However, their inner circle houses a dark secret, one that could completely change their image and group dynamic. For this series, I'll be going over each quest, discussing the story, and listening to the dialogue. If that's something that interests you, then sit back, relax, and let's enjoy a tale from the Elder Scrolls. Like many, I was first exposed to the Companions after my escape from Helgen. Crossing over the fields of Whiterun, I witnessed 3 of their members fighting a giant at Pelagia Farm. They were brave, skilled, and most importantly, victorious. From that point onward, the Companions were branded as Skyrim's helpers, glorified mercenaries who venture far and wide in search of battle, riches, and honor. As time passed, their faction got pushed to the back burner for me. I was busy traveling around the province, fighting dragons, and assassinating an emperor. However, now feels like an appropriate time to offer my services to the Companions, although little did I know what exactly was in store for me. Entering Whiterun and walking the halls of Jorrvaskr, the atmosphere was old, yet electric. As soon as I wandered in, 2 of the faction's members started brawling, Athos the Dark Elf and Yada the Nord. The 2 went at it for quite some time, and the other members just circled around them. A couple dozen punches later, and eventually one of them was crowned victorious. However, it appeared to be all for sport, as afterwards, everyone went back to business as usual. Recognizing Ayla out of the crowd, I approached the Huntress and asked about joining the faction.
We don't just take in any milk drinker who stumbles in. Talk to Kodlak if you think you have what it takes to be a companion.
Seems fair enough. Even with my name known across Skyrim, I should still be treated the same way as the others. Descending to the living quarters, I walked in on Kodlak Whitemane speaking with another member named Vilkas. Vilkas mentioned something about still hearing the call of blood. Kodlak replied and said everybody does, but they have to try their best to overcome it. Vilkas then said that him and his brother are with Kodlak, but the other members might not be easily convinced. Unsure of what I stumbled into, I simply ignored that conversation and started my own with Whitemane.
A stranger comes to our hall. Would you now? Here, let me have a look at you. Yes, perhaps. A certain strength of spirit.
Master, you're not truly considering accepting him.
I am nobody's master, Vilkas. And last I checked, we had some empty beds in Jorrvaskr for those with a fire burning in their hearts.
Apologies, but perhaps this isn't the time. I've never even heard of this outsider.
Sometimes the famous come to us. Sometimes men and women come to us to seek their fame. It makes no difference. What matters is their heart.
And their arm.
Of course. How are you in battle, boy? That may be so. This is Vilkas. He will test your arm. Vilkas, take him out to the yard and see what he can do.
Aye.
I guess not everyone here is welcoming to outsiders. So far, other than Kodlak himself, no one's been very friendly to me. Maybe that's just because I need to prove myself still. Following Vilkas out of the halls, he brought me to the training grounds.
The old man said to have a look at you. So, let's do this. Just have a few swings at me so I can see your form. Don't worry, I can take it. You're mine!
Bashing Vilkas with Windshear felt kind of unfair. He never stood a chance, but I suppose the whole point is to just see my skill level. After a couple of swings, he calls it quits.
Not bad. Next time won't be so easy. You might just make it, but for now, you're still a whelp to us, new blood. So you do what we tell you. Here's my sword. Go take it up to Jorland to have it sharpened. And be careful. It's probably worth more than you are.
Not the most ideal first task, but everyone's gotta start somewhere. Fortunately, Jorland's Skyforge is right beside Jorrvaskr, so the delivery took no time or effort at all.
What brings you here? I'm guessing you're the newcomer then. Oh, don't worry too much about it. They were all whelps once. They just might not like to talk about it. And don't always just do what you're told. Nobody rules anybody in the Companions. Well, I'm not sure how they've managed it, but they have. No leader since Ysgramor. Kodlak is the Harbinger, and he's a sort of advisor for the whole group, but every man is his own. Every woman her own. Not actually a companion myself, but none of them know how to work a forge properly, and I'm honored to serve them. My name is Eorlin Greymane. I work the Skyforge. Best steel in all of Skyrim. All of Tamriel. I have a favor to ask. I've been working on a shield for Aela. My wife is in mourning, and I need to get back to her soon. I'd be much obliged if you could take this to Aela for me. That's a good man.
Obviously, I just wanted to get out of there, but the other dialogue prompts had a point. Eorlin just told me to not always do what I'm told, yet he asked me to be the delivery boy and run Ayla's shield over to her. However, I'm just trying to make good impressions as well as good connections.
If you wish to hunt with me, your feet need to be quick and your eyes quicker. Ah, good, I've been waiting for this. Are you new here?
I told you. This is the whelp that Vilkas mentioned.
Ah, yes. I heard you gave him quite a thrashing.
Don't let Vilkas catch you saying that.
Do you think you could handle Vilkas in a real fight? Whoa, ease up there. We're rough, but there's no need to kill a shield brother over a dispute. I like your fire, though. You'll make a fierce companion. Let us hunt together sometime. Here, let's have Farkas show you where you'll be resting your head.
Farkas. Did you call me?
Of course we did, Icebrain. Show this new blood where the rest of the whelps sleep.
New blood. Oh, hello. I'm Farkas. Come, follow me.
So far, they say there are no leaders or chain of command here in the Companions, but Ayla sent me to Kodlak. Kodlak commanded Vilkas to put me through the ropes. Vilkas told me what to do, Eorlin did the same, and now Ayla is telling Farkas what to do. I get there's a difference between favors, doing your duty, and following orders, but the irony is just too good.
Alright, so here you are. Looks like the others are eager to meet you. Come to me or Aela if you're looking for work. Once you've made a bit of a name for yourself, Skjor and Vilkas might have things for you to do. Good luck. Welcome to the Companions. By the way, if you're looking for something to do, we've got trouble right here in Whiterun Hold. Nothing we can't handle. Nothing but a bunch of lonely bandits. Cowards who will take little effort. I knew you could be counted on. Do what must be done.
Now that my character's all settled into their new residence, it's time to get out there and fight for my honor. With that, thus ends the quest. Take up arms. Eager to get on with my first assignment, I left Jorrvaskr and popped open the map. Silent Moon's camp was a brief distance away from Whiterun. Important to note is that the smaller quests given out to the player are randomized and radiant. So this could have brought me to a variety of different dungeons, and it could have been an entirely different quest altogether. There are 13 radiant quests for the Companions, 7 of which are available right off the bat, and the other 6 are only doable once I've reached a certain point in the faction story. Unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on who you ask, I probably won't get to receive all of the Radiant quests, but their role in the story is important, as they're needed for progression. Arriving on horseback, I was met with a resistance of bandits. Nothing too tricky though, as most fell with a couple of swings. Plus, I had Shadowmere to help me out and to split the aggro. The most challenging foe out here was a bandit highwayman. He took more than a few swings to bring down, but together, with my steed, we were able to easily overwhelm him. While the exterior really wasn't much of an issue, the interior is where things got spicy. There were only 2 bandits in here, a regular mundane ruffian, and then a bandit plunderer, my mark for this quest. Wielding a greatsword, he was able to do numbers on my health. So much so that I actually fell to him on my first attempt. Doing things a bit more meticulously the second time around, I was able to best the plunderer no problem and finished up with my contract. Again, these raiding quests are a lot simpler and fairly straightforward. Returning to Jorvisker, I sought out Farkas and reported my success.
And I've already received word that the client is satisfied. You have done well for yourself and for the companions.
With that, thus ends the quest, Trouble in Skyrim. Seeking out Ayla, I asked her for more work.
Skior was looking for
If
you
keep it
earlier.
in close, you'll have more control.
He didn't
But it
say,
can be
but
harder
you'd better
to
move
balance a
fast.
strike.
There's probably something I
Guess
could
that
find
comes
for
down
you
to
to
footwork
do,
then.
but best to check with him.
Exactly. When you have a big
Luckily, Skior is close by and he's easily approachable.
There you are. I did. Your time, it seems, has come. Last week, a scholar came to us. He said he knew where we could find another fragment of Wuthrad. He seemed a fool to me, but if he's right, the honor of the companions demand that we seek it out. This is a simple errand, but the time is right for it to be your trial. Carry yourself with honor, and you'll become a true companion. Farkas will be your shield sibling on this venture, whelp. He'll answer any questions you have. Try not to disappoint, or to get him killed.
This certainly sounds like an important quest, as Wuthrad is the axe that Ysgramor once wielded.
I hope you've readied yourself. So I'm told. Let's see if you impress.
Exiting the halls and popping open the map, Dustman's Cairn is right beside Silent Moon's camp. Traveling over there, we began our journey. The rock fields were mostly clear. Other than a handful of mud crabs, we really didn't have much issue getting to the dungeon. Arriving at the cairn and going on in, Farkas calls out the obvious. The crypts and coffins have all been opened and searched. Someone, or something, has been poking around in here. They're more than likely still close by, so it's a good idea to ready ourselves. Even though some of the Draugr have already been defeated, or at least looked over, others are around to defend the halls. Draugr scourges and wights rose from their slumber and began attacking us. Alone, this might have been a difficult fight. However, with Farkas tanking most of the hits, it was actually rather simple. I even took the time to practice my destruction magic and to level up some of my lesser skills. Although, sooner than later, this would bite me in the back. For half the enemies in here, my destruction spells were doing squat all. But again, with Farkas by my side, it was more so just about raising the level than it was actually defeating them. Meandering my way through the ancient halls, I soon found myself in an open area. There were a couple of different pathways, some blocked off by gates, while others were wide open. Farkas decided to stand off to the side for a bit in order to let me figure this one out. Having a look around, I found a lever, and chances were that it would raise the other gate. Pulling it though, it ended up trapping me inside. This was where the companion's dark secret was officially revealed.
Now look what you've gotten yourself into. No worries, just sit tight. I'll find the release. What was that?
It's time to die, dog. We knew you'd be coming here. Your mistake, companion.
Which one is that?
It doesn't matter. He wears that armor, he dies.
Killing you will make for an excellent story.
None of you will be alive to tell it.
Won't leave here alive.
I hope I didn't scare you. It's a blessing given to some of us. We can be like wild beasts, fearsome. Oh no, only the Circle have the beast blood. Prove your honor to be a companion. Eyes on the prey, not the horizon. We should keep moving. Still the Draugr to worry about.
Members of the Inner Circle are blessed or cursed with lycanthropy, a disease or ability which no doubt takes its toll on the victim. While Farkas seems like he's back in control for now, who knows if I'll have to worry about him turning and placing his attention on me. What's more, who were these Silver Hand members? They recognized Farkas based off of his armor and seemed like they specialize in werewolf hunting. They carry silver swords, which means they hunt all manners of unholy creatures. In any case, we still have a mission to do, and it's best that we just carry on. The rest of Dustman's cairn presents a combination of both Silver Hand and Draugr. To be honest, I'd have rather dealt with the mummified Nords. Some members of the Silver Hand were incredibly squishy, while others had boss-like health bars. What's more, if they came running at me with two-handed weapons, I knew I was in for a world of trouble. It was pretty much at this point where I had to stop training my minor skills and needed my major ones to carry me through. Honestly, I was starting to wish that Farkas would have just turned again. He seemed to be able to one-shot all of our opponents in wolf form. Instead, we were left to a slow and methodical dungeon crawl. As we neared the end, Farkas made a huge mistake. I overheard some Silver Hand members fighting against the Draugr. Thinking it was the perfect setup for them to take each other out, I mostly stayed back. I picked off a few Draugr stragglers and slowly made my way forward. Meanwhile, Farkas decided to charge on ahead. Once I was finished, I turned the corner and was met with 4 members of the Silver Hand. It appeared as though Farkas aided them in their fight against the Draugr and then got dropped as soon as they were done. Each member was just about ready to cleave my head off. 2 of them were wielding greatswords, while the other 2 charged in with lighter weapons. Realizing that this was hopeless without my companion, I retreated to the previous zone. Dying shortly thereafter, I managed to get myself stuck in one of those endless death loops. This was something I'd actually never experienced in Skyrim before. I wasn't even really mad about it either. I was just more so in awe. Eventually, I broke out of the time loop, managed to break up the group. Farkas came back to help, and we were business as usual. Pushing past the chokehold point, we fought our way through a handful of skeevers and a couple of frostbite spiders. Soon, we landed in an open room. At the back of it was a word wall, as well as the fragment of Wuthrad. Securing it, Farkas and I were almost home free. Of course though, you'll never end up in a room like this and not have to fight through waves of Draugr. Slowly, the lids of the tombs began dropping down. The undead began filling the area. At first, it was just regular and restless Draugr. Then, the Scourges and Whites started to show up. However, in my opinion, it was still a lot easier to handle than the Silver Hand. Once this mess was all cleared up, Farkas and I were able to take a shortcut back to the entrance of the cairn. From the outside, I fast traveled back to the halls of Jorvaskr. Several members of the companions were waiting for me over by the training grounds. They all looked like high-ranking guildmates, aka the Inner Circle.
Brothers and sisters of the Circle, today we welcome a new soul into our mortal fold. This man has endured, has challenged, and has shown his valor. Who will speak for him?
I stand witness to the courage of the soul before us.
Would you raise your shield in his defense?
I would stand at his back, that the world might never overtake us.
And would you raise your sword in his honor?
It stands ready to meet the blood of his foes.
And would you raise a mug in his name?
I would lead the song of triumph as our mead hall reveled in his stories.
Then the judgment of this circle is complete. His heart beats with fury and courage that have united the companions since the days of the distant green summers. Let it beat with ours, that the mountains may echo and our enemies may tremble at the call.
It shall be so.
Well, boy, you're one of us now. I trust you won't disappoint.
Before exiting the conversation, I wanted to hear Kodlak's thoughts on lycanthropy.
I see you've been allowed to know some secrets before your appointed time. No matter. Yes, it's true. Not every companion, though. Only members of the Circle all share the blood of the beast. Some take to it more than others. Well, I grow old. My mind turns towards the horizon, to Sovngarde. I worry that Shor won't call an animal to glory as he would a true Nord warrior. Living as beasts draws our souls closer to the Daedric Lord Hircine. Some may prefer an eternity in his hunting grounds, but I crave the fellowship of Sovngarde. Yes, but it's no easy matter. But you don't need to share the worries of an old warrior. This day is to rejoice in your bravery. And speak to Yorland if you want a better weapon than whatever that is.
Gear roasting aside, I think I now understand Kodlak and Vilkas's conversation. As Whitemane himself put it, some members embrace the gift more than others. With that, thus ends the quest, proving honor. The next quest is really short, and one of those radiant ones I was talking about before. However, it needs to get done, and I need to continue to prove myself. Chatting with Farkas, I asked him for my next mission.
We've gotten a letter about someone needing some muscle over in the Rift. I don't know what the fight is about, and that's not our business anyway. I just need you to go out there, look tough, and scare this milk drinker into submission. No more than that. I don't want to hear about a killing, understand? Try not to get carried away.
It's probably no surprise, but the Radiant quests don't go into much backstory, and it's rather purposeful. This way, the dialogue can more or less be copy and pasted for different scenarios all across Skyrim. In my case, Viria, a worker at Riften's fishery, was this quest's target. Honestly though, this is probably one of the easier missions that the game could have given to me. Locating the Redguard, I told her that I'd been sent to resolve a dispute. This meant that her and I would be involved in a bit of a brawl. On my end, just wailing on her until she submits. On her end, likely until I'm dead. Crowds gathered, plenty of punches were thrown, and after more time than I'd have liked, I emerged victorious.
You're tougher than you look. You got me, fair and square. Fine, I'll take care of it. Just please leave me alone.
Again, quite the ambiguous dialogue. What she has to take care of and why I had to strong arm her is anyone's guess. Returning to Whiterun, I reported my success to Farkas.
You seem to have a knack for this kind of thing. I'll make sure people in charge know.
With that, thus ends the quest, Hired Muscle. Running over to Farkas again, he had something for me that was more promising.
You've returned.
Worried one of them is going to take your place?
Skjor was looking for you before. Talk to him before doing anything else.
What then?
Legging it over to Skjor, my curiosity was officially piqued.
Ah, there you are.
Yes, I have something a little different planned this time.
But it's not for everyone to hear. Meet me in the Underforge tonight. We will speak more. I forget that you've never seen it. Beneath the Skyforge, where Yorland works. The door is hidden, but I will show you the way.
Luckily, for efficiency's sake, it was already tonight. Following Skjor out into the training grounds and underneath the Skyforge, I had a pretty good idea of what was going on.
Are you prepared? Here's all you need to know. Jorvaskr is the oldest building in Whiterun. The Skyforge was here long before it was. And the Underforge taps an ancient magic that is older than men or elves. We bring you here to make you stronger, new blood. Now let's move. I'm glad you came. It's been a long time since we had a heart like yours among our numbers. That pitiful ceremony behind the hall does not befit warriors like us. You are due more honor than some calls and feasting. I would hope you recognize Ayla, even in this form. She's agreed to be your forebear. We do this in secret because Kodlak is too busy trying to throw away this great gift we've been granted. He thinks we've been cursed, but we've been blessed. How can something that gives this kind of prowess be a curse? So we take matters into our own hands. To reach the heights of the Companions, you must join with us in the shared blood of the wolf. Are you prepared to join your spirit with the beast world, friend? Very well.
Well, it certainly seems like the Companions are divided on their lycanthropy. Some, like Skjor, see their beast form as a gift, something that grants them superiority. Meanwhile, Kodlak views it as a curse. something that bars him from fulfilling his Nordic destiny, an eternity in Sovngarde. Walking over to the Basin of Blood and interacting with it, I could feel an all-new sense of power surging through my veins. As my character blacks out, I soon come to, except I'm now in werewolf form. I move so much faster, hit with greater force, and my presence is now fearsome. The issue, of course, is that I'm in the middle of Whiterun. Even though it's nighttime, there are plenty of innocent people around. As soon as I'm seen, they aggro onto me and I'm forced to flee. However, my bender isn't active for very long, as once again my character blacks out.
Are you awake? I was starting to think you might never come back. Yours was not an easy transformation, but you're still alive, so congratulations. We even have a celebration planned for you. There's a pack of werewolf hunters camped nearby, at Gallows Rock. The Silver Hand. I think you've met them before. We're going to slaughter them. All of them. Lead on. Skior's already scouting ahead. You were born into the pack, brother. I almost envy you. That first time is always the most intense. You gave us even more trouble than Farkas did at his first turning.
This time, as I come to, I'm in a completely different place. Gallows Rock is near Riften, which is of course on the eastern end of the province. Assuming this is the same night, that just goes to show how well-paced werewolves are with their movements. Being thrown into things, I simply approached Gallows Rock and was immediately targeted by the Silver Hand. Wanting to make things a little spicy, I decided to transform into beast form. My character was now hard to track down and attacked with such ferocity. What was once a somewhat challenging fight is now a slaughter. In werewolf form, you have the option of feeding on dead enemies. Doing so increases your duration as a werewolf, and it also increases your perk progression. Werewolves have their own skill tree, which is actually pretty neat. You have access to various perks, like buffs to melee attacks, and even a unique warcry. The keep of Gallows Rocks was teeming with the Silver Hand, and admittedly, the challenge aspect had been brought back. Some of these enemies were really strong, and what's more, if they fought with silver, my character would definitely feel it. So, even though it felt like I should have been going ballistic, bouncing off the walls and tearing into my foes, I had to take a more cautious approach, staying behind Ayla and striking when the moment was right. One of the downsides of being a werewolf is that you can't heal on demand. Feeding is the main way that you regenerate your health bar. Obviously, this is great for knocking off multiple birds with one stone. Bloodlust extension, perk progression, and health regen. However, when things are getting dire and you need that extra hit of HP, I wish you the best of luck. Also, while in beast form, you can't open containers or really interact with the environment. This certainly makes sense as you're a feral monster, but it's something to keep in mind as you'll have to pass by a lot of loot. As we approach the final room of Gallows Rock, Ayla warns me about the group's leader, the Skinner. She's apparently a very formidable foe. Heading on inside of the last chamber, the Skinner and a bunch of her lackeys were all, well, skinning. As their attention turns to us, they rise from their tanning racks and take up arms. Krev the Skinner is in fact a really strong opponent. Without being at full health, I found the fight to be pretty tricky. She was great at only focusing me, and her groupies were keeping Ayla busy. I tried the fight a handful of times in werewolf form, but with a little over half health, it wasn't really working out. So, letting my beast form expire, I approached the room and began making the rounds as an elf. Taking out the lesser Silver Hand members first, I then moved on to Krev. The fight wasn't bad while both Ayla and I were putting our focus into it. Plus, it helped that I had access to my full inventory, potions, and spells. Soon, we were able to completely fluster Krev and defeat her in combat.
The bastards! Somehow they managed to kill Skior. He was one of the strongest we had, but numbers can overwhelm. He should not have come without a shield brother. Get out of here. I'm going to make sure we got the last of them, and see if there's any information to be gotten from the bodies. You and I have work to do. The Silver Hand will tremble at our sight.
While beast form can make the companions stronger, it doesn't make them invincible. One of our members has been slain. Hopefully, the rest of the guild won't take it too hard. With that, thus ends the quest, the Silver Hand. Leaving Gallows Rock, I traveled back to Jorvaskr. I assumed that Farkas, Vilkas, or even Kodlak would have a quest for me, but that didn't appear to be the case. Instead, I was the one to break the news that Skjor had perished in battle.
He was the one I looked up to. I need to find my brother.
Skjor. I always thought of him as invincible.
All right, someday. Today,
Truly one of our great fighters has gone out.
This is... He should not have gone alone. Thank you for telling me. This is a day where our souls must cry, and our hearts will answer. Go. Grieve in whatever way you know.
While it's not a happy or joyous time, the faction's loss made me even more eager to prove myself. If not for everyone else's sake, then for Skjor himself. Locating Ayla, I asked her what needed to be done.
I've been running interference for you around here. I don't think anyone's caught on to our little campaign. Yet, good that you're so eager. I've caught wind that one of the Brighter Silver Hand has been sniffing around Whiterun. If you can sneak into their camp and steal his plans, we'll have the advantage.
This is one of the few Radiant quests that's only accessible after a certain point. 2 out of 3 missions deal directly with the Silver Hand. One is obviously stealing the group's battle plans. Another is assassinating a high-ranking member of the Silver Hand, and the third is retrieving another fragment of Wuthrad. For this quest, I'm to go to Redorand's retreat. Lucky for me, the retreat is just south of Dustman's Cairn, so a short gallop over with Shadowmere did the trick and brought me to the mine's barren exterior. Going on inside, it didn't take me very long to run into the Silver Hand, although they didn't really have much of a presence in here. A guard dog, 2 lower tier guards, and then a Silver Hand leader. The leader was dressed the same as Krev, and he hit just as hard. There was a point in our fight where I thought I had the upper hand, but as it would turn out, he managed to almost turn things around. If not for a lucky stagger, I would have been on attempt number 2 for the fight. Defeating the leader, I rushed into the back chamber and accessed the boss level chest. In it, I found the Silver Hand Stratagem, a book that unfortunately got placed in my miscellaneous items, meaning it was not readable. Regardless, quest item in hand, I exited Redorand's retreat and brought it back to Ayla at Jorvaskr.
Have you been bringing the battle to the Silver Hand, friend? I wish I could be there with you. Soon enough. Perfect. Hopefully this will let us know more about their movement. I think we've got them on the run.
It seemed like that opened up some dialogue pathways with the other members. Both Farkas and Kodlak might have something interesting for me to do. Something of great importance for the faction. With that, thus ends the quest, Stealing Plans. With 3 possible options for quest givers, I decided to approach Vilkas to see what he had in store.
We've received a desperate missive. A citizen of Whiterun has been kidnapped. The companions have been asked for assistance, and we shall answer, particularly when the pay is as good as this. Get moving. I shudder to think what might happen if you're too late.
This brings on the quest, Rescue Mission, another Radiant and filler task. However, I found this one to be quite interesting. Technically, it didn't have much to do with the Companion's quest, as it was more so a localized event. My goal was to rescue Idolof Battleborn from Randvig's Fast, a dungeon I had never been to before. Popping open the world map, the Fast is located west of Dustman's Cairn. The trek there was more eventful than I would have liked. Saber-toothed cats, Thalmor justiciars, bandits, giants, mammoths, and even a death on my part. Soon though, I made it to the Fast and the real crawl had begun. The exterior was guarded by subjugated ghosts. There's always something quite saddening when having to face them. The remorse and pleas for forgiveness really tug on the heartstrings. Fortunately, their spirits get released after they're defeated. At least, I hope that's the case. The crawl through the interior was rather brief. A couple more ghosts, and soon I found myself at the back of a big room. A word wall and a boss level chest could only mean that I finished the mission, right? Well, following the quest arrow a little too closely, I fell right into the Warlock's trap. Tripping a trapdoor and falling to the pits below, I found myself in some sort of cage. On the other side was a wounded Idolof, as well as a man I had never seen before. His name was Sild the Warlock, and he was overjoyed that his plan had worked. He talks about his dead assistant, and then quickly takes his leave. He begins looking for some sort of vice to torture me with, and it's evident that the clock is ticking. The only way out of the cage is through the gate, but it's secured with an expert level lock. I was fortunate in that I had plenty of lockpicks on me. But if he didn't, Sild's dead assistant has just one in his inventory, so better make it count. After some time, if you let Sild finish his search, he comes back and starts firing off destruction spells. Obviously, unless you have spells to shoot back at him, that's probably it for you. Once I was freed, I charged straight for the warlock and hacked away. Up close, he couldn't do all that much, and soon Idoloff and I were free to escape the fast. Before leaving, I wanted to read Sild's journal. Because it's not related to the companions, nor is it that vast, I'll sum it up. But basically, it just talks about his trials and tribulations with capturing live prisoners. Most adventurers die on impact, even with the water below. He talks about how one broke both their legs and arms, then drowned shortly after. Sild also talks about how he convinced an orc to hold his breath as long as he could, which also resulted in that adventurer drowning. His motives seem purely malicious, as he wanted to break their minds before breaking their bodies. Well, good riddance then. Once Idoloff and I were free, we encountered something I had never seen before in Skyrim. A scared hunter ran over to us. He said he had been attacked by a vampire and needed a cure disease potion as fast as possible. Out of pure curiosity, I replied with, "No way, buddy," and he darted off to the nearest town. There's always something new and surprising with this game. I'm hoping I run into him again one day, and I also kind of hope that he's a vampire. Fast traveling over to Whiterun, Idoloff thanked me for the rescue, and I was clear to return to Jorrvaskr.
So I hear. You brought honor to the companions and yourself.
Certainly a fun little mission. With that, thus ends the quest, Rescue Mission. Returning to Vilkas, I asked him if there was more work. He mentioned that Ayla wanted to see me, and I knew exactly why. She must have gotten some other lead on the Silver Hand. Descending to the living quarters, I was looking up and down for her when instead I ran into Kodlak. Checking in with him, this is where the story really developed.
I've been looking for you. Yes, youngling. Have a seat. I hear you've been busy of late. Your hearts are full of grief, and my own weeps at the loss of Skjor. But his death was avenged long ago. You have taken more lives than honor demanded. The cycle of retaliation may continue for some time. In any case, I have a task for you. Have you heard the story of how we came to be werewolves? Aye, that sounds like him. As in all matters of faith, though, the reality is more complicated than one believer would tell you. The companions are nearly 5,000 years old. This matter of beast blood has only troubled us for a few hundred. One of my predecessors was a good but short-sighted man. He made a bargain with the witches of Glenmoral Coven. If the companions would hunt in the name of their lord Hircine, we would be granted great power. They did not believe the change would be permanent. The witches offered payment, like anyone else. But we had been deceived. The witches didn't lie, of course, but it's more than our bodies. The disease, you see, affects not just our bodies, it seeps into the spirit. Upon death, werewolves are claimed by Hircine for his hunting grounds. For some, this is a paradise. They want nothing more than to chase prey with their master for eternity. And that is their choice. But I am still a true Nord, and I wish for Sovngarde as my spirit home. That's what I've spent my twilight years trying to find out. And now I've found the answer. The witches' magic ensnared us, and only their magic can release us. They won't give it willingly, but we can extract their foul powers by force. I want you to seek them out. Go to their coven in the wilderness. Strike them down as a true warrior of the wild. And bring me their heads, the seat of their abilities. From there, we may begin to undo centuries of impurity. You shall have no shield, brother, this time. But the spirit of Ysgramor goes with you to restore the honor of his legacy. Talos guide you, lad.
So it seems like there's a chance for Kodlak to know true peace. If that's the case, then maybe the others, including myself, can take the cure as well. Before heading out, I paid a visit to Jorland and asked him about a new weapon. It appears as though the Dragonborn is granted at least one free item from the Master Smith himself. Snagging the Skyforged steel battle axe, upgrading, then enchanting it, I was ready to slay some witches. Maybe it was because of my gear upgrade, or perhaps it was for other reasons, but I found the Glenmoral witches to be rather easy opponents. Charging in with my axe and Lydia by my side, we were able to shred through the witches in no time. It's completely optional to take out all of them, as only one head is needed for the quest, but I just decided to go for it anyways. It's neat how the witches play a role in the big three games, Morrowind, Oblivion, and Skyrim. Clearly, Skyrim places them as more feral and violent beings, whereas Oblivion puts them as glorified alchemists, and Morrowind is somewhere in between, but probably closer to the tamer NPCs we see in Oblivion. Normally, the player works with them to cure some sort of disease, and in Morrowind, the cure for lycanthropy was quite different. A couple of rare flower petals, an innocent person sacrificed, defeating your wolf avatar, all the normal things required for a cure. Once all the witches were beheaded, I was ready to return to Whiterun. However, I never would have imagined this is what things were going to turn to. Crowds gathered outside of Jorvaskr. Torvar and Ayla had armed themselves and were standing over some dead bodies. It appears as though the Silver Hand had finally attacked the Guildhall. Heading on inside, the carnage was far worse than I had thought.
Where have you been? I hope it was important, because it means you weren't here to defend him. The Silver Hand. They finally found enough courage to attack Jorvaskr. We fought them off, but the old man, Kodlak, he's dead. No, but they made off with all our fragments of Wuthrad. But you and I are going to reclaim them. We will bring the battle to their chief camp. There will be none left living to tell their stories. Only songs of Jorvaskr will be sung. We will avenge Kodlak, and they will know terror before the end.
Kodlak Whitemane, the humble and bright harbinger of the companions, has fallen. What's more, this was right before we could get a cure going, meaning his soul has been sent to Hircine's hunting grounds. With that, thus ends the quest, Blood's Honor. If there was ever to be a bright side for a situation like this, it's that the Silver Hand members all had some decent pocket change on them. Kodlak might be dead, but I'm at least 100 gold richer. Feeling good and feeling ready, I left the Guildhall and popped open the map. Driftshade Refuge, the location for this quest, was southwest of Hobbs Fall Cave. A short ride over, and I had already found myself starting off the battle. Taking out a few members around the exterior, Vilkas and I moved to the inside. The crawl was honestly pretty easy. If anything, I had my new weapon to thank for that. It was likely also because I wasn't trying to work on any of my lesser skills. Most of these Silver Hand members fell with a couple of swings. Of course, there were a couple of stragglers who needed a little more elbow grease to take down, but with Vilkas by my side, we had things under control. The refuge led us all around the keep. We meandered through the cellar, the kitchen area, ran into werewolves, both dead and alive, then out into a frozen barrow underneath the mountains. The Silver Hand's numbers began to dwindle, and while it was completely optional to exterminate them, I was pretty much forced into it, as they were all heavily guarding the fragments of Wuthrad. While the UESP says that the Silver Hand is eradicated for good, I never got the chance to see if that was true. I'm unsure if they're involved in more raiding quests, so for now, I take that statement with a grain of salt. Once the group was defeated and the loot was taken, I collected the pieces of Ysgramor's axe. From here, it was time to return to Jorvaskr. Fast traveling to Dragon's Reach, Vilkas informed me that there was going to be a funeral for Kodlak at the Skyforge. With that, thus ends the quest, Purity of Revenge. Following Vilkas up to the Skyforge, the funeral was just about ready to begin.
Who will start?
I'll do it. Before the ancient flame.
We grieve.
We
We
grieve.
grieve.
At this loss,
We
weep.
We weep. For the fallen,
We
Shout.
shout.
And for ourselves.
We take
We
our
take
leave.
our
Our
leave.
leave. His spirit is departed. Members of the Circle, let us withdraw to the Underforge to grieve our last together.
Do you have the fragments of Wuthrad still? I'll need to prepare them for mounting again. Don't get too flowery on me, lad. Of course, I have a small favor to ask of you. There's another piece that Kodlak always kept close to himself. Would you go to his chambers and bring it back for me? I'm not sure I'm the best one to go through his things. Thank you. I'll be here.
There was definitely a nice send-off for a harbinger such as Kodlak. What the faction will do now and who will lead it, or advise it, is unknown. Now, the circle only consists of Vilkas, Farkas, myself, and Ayla. As it stands, who knows if anyone else will get added to the Companion's highest ranks, and it doesn't seem like the Beast Blood is on the table anymore. Accessing Kodlak's end table, I found the final fragment of Wuthrad. However, I also came across something else. It seems as though Whitemane left behind a journal. While it's a somewhat lengthy read, it's actually quite fascinating, and it makes mention of the player. In my dream, I see the line of harbingers start with Ysgramor. Each of them ascends to Sovngarde until we come to Terfig, who first turned us to the ways of the beast. He tries to enter Sovngarde, but before he can approach Sun, he is set upon by a great wolf who pulls him into the hunting grounds, where Hircine laughs with welcoming arms. Terfig seems regretful, but also eager to join Hircine after a lifetime of service as a beast. Then I see every next harbinger turn away from Sovngarde and enter the hunting grounds of their own accord, until it comes to me, and I see Great Sun on the misty horizon, beckoning me. It appears I have a choice, and then, at my side, a stranger I had not seen before. As I look into his eyes, we turn to see the same wolf who dragged away Terfig, and him and I draw weapons together. I realize this is only a dream, but a strong enough dream to inspire a man like me to take to writing, so it must be of some import. I've spoken of my thoughts to the Circle, withholding the part about the stranger, lest Skjor worry I will no longer seek his counsel, and I was not surprised to see them torn by it. Skjor and Ayla are strong in the ways of the beast, and even seem to suggest that the hunting grounds would be their choice of afterlife, if it were truly a choice. Vilkas seemed most troubled. The boy is as fierce as a saber cat in battle, but his heart's fire burns too brightly at times. He felt deceived, and I don't blame him. Farkas didn't know what to think, but I believe he will come around with me and his brother eventually. He usually does. I don't know what to do about Skjor and Ayla. I know they respect the companions and me, but they take to the blood more deeply than the rest of us. Fortune smiles upon us. Yesterday, Vilkas was telling me how difficult it had been for him to give up his transformations. Until we can pursue a true cure, the twins and I have chosen not to give in to the beast blood. For me, it's provided a clearer head, but Vilkas seems to be suffering a bit for it. Farkas seems completely untroubled. That boy continues to amaze with his fortitude. While Vilkas was confiding through the shadows of Jorvaskr, I saw a newcomer approach, who wished to join our numbers. It was the stranger from my dream, the one who would stand with me against the beast. Vilkas began speaking obliquely, not wishing to air our problems in front of our guest, and I had to be doubly cautious to not reveal anything of our secrets to the newcomer, while also not revealing the details of my dream to Vilkas. I don't know how the politicians deal with these sorts of machinations daily. In any case, I've sent Vilkas to test the newcomer. We'll see if he is truly the great warrior I dreamt of. The newcomer, it seems, is made of decent stock. He calls himself Bard, and has already impressed some of the Circle with his mettle. I still keep my own counsel on his place in my dream, for now. Let us see what kind of destiny he is carving before hitching to him. In the meanwhile, I look for ways of cleansing my blood. The writings and legends on the subject are sparse and contradictory. I don't wish to engage any wizardry on this matter, but I fear they may be the only ones who best know how to navigate these worlds of knowledge. It's apparent to me now that Terfik's choice to turn us was indeed a mistake. Magics and their ilk are not in keeping with the spirit of the companions. We face our problems directly, without the need of such trickery. I can only hope to guide us back to the true path of Ysgramor before the rot takes me. Bard continues to impress. I don't know yet where he will stand on the question of the blood, but the question cannot be presented yet. He does know that we carry the beast blood, and appears curious about it. Soon enough, I can explain our troubles, and hopefully see what role he will play. I'm amazed that Ayla thinks she can keep a secret among this drunken rabble, especially with the loss of Skjor. My heart aches. Emotions are fraying, and the walls of discretion are the first to fall. Apparently, she and Bard are waging their own separate war against the Silver Hand, in retaliation for Skjor's death. Their hearts are noble, but the course of vengeance is running hot, and I fear the counterstroke that may come if they do not rein in their fury. Bard shows valor, though even in this more underhanded time. We have not had cause to speak much, and that is something I deeply regret. I have high hopes for his destiny, as I realize that his appearance, my dream, may indeed mark him as the harbinger to succeed me. I have received few dreams over the course of my life, but when they come, I have learned to trust them. I have also learned to trust the instincts of my heart, which tells me that Bard can carry the companion's legacy as truly as any residing in Jorrvaskr, especially with the loss of Skjor. Ayla is too solitary, Vilkas too fiery, and Farkas too kind-hearted. Only Bard stands as a true warrior who can keep a still mind amidst these burning hearts. I will not speak to him of any of this though. It is too much to burden another with. My hope is that he and I can keep counsel over the coming years, that I can impart the wisdom of the Harbingers. All things in time. Firstly, I will seek his assistance in the matter of the witches of Glenmoral. It would appear that our path to the cure is not without some poetic justice for the tricksters who first cursed us. Whitemane certainly has a way with words. His journal explains why he was so inviting. He knew who I was before I even stepped foot in Jorrvaskr. He knew that together, we'd be able to find a cure for the guild's lycanthropy. And unfortunately, it seems like mine and Ayla's actions are the reason for his death. I can only hope that he finds some sort of peace in the afterlife. Returning to Jorland, I presented him with the last fragment.
You're back. Thank you. Your shield siblings have withdrawn to the Underforge. I think they're waiting for you.
The old man had one wish before he died, and he didn't get it. It's as simple as that.
Being Moonborn is not so much of a curse as you might think, Vilkas.
That's fine for you, but he wanted to be clean. He wanted to meet Ysgramor and know the glories of Sovngarde, but all that was taken from him.
And you avenged him?
Kodlak did not care for vengeance.
No, Farkas, he didn't. And that's not what this is about. We should be honoring Kodlak, no matter our own thoughts on the blood.
You're right. It's what he wanted, and he deserved to have it.
Kodlak used to speak of a way to cleanse his soul, even in death. You know the legends of the tomb of Ysgramor.
There, the souls of the Harbingers will heed the call of Northern Steel. We can't even enter the tomb without Wuthrad, and it's in pieces like it has been for 1,000 years.
And dragons were just stories, and the elves once ruled Skyrim. Just because something is, doesn't mean it must be. The blade is a weapon, a tool. Tools are meant to be broken, and repaired.
Is that... Did you repair the blade?
This is the first time I've had all the pieces, thanks to our shield brother here. The flames of Hero can reforge the shattered. The flames of Kodlak shall fuel the rebirth of Wuthrad, and now it will take you to meet him once more. As the one who bore the fragments, I think you should be the one to carry Wuthrad into battle. The rest of you, prepare to journey to the tomb of Ysgramor, for Kodlak.
I guess we really know who runs the show around here. Greymane the Smith might have more sway than he lets on. As a raw axe, Wuthrad puts itself as my strongest weapon. Its effect is simple, and one that my Altmer should probably fear. It just says, especially deadly to elves. The axe's design is sleek and incredibly detailed. With the help of my 3 companions, rushing into Ysgramor's tomb should be no problem. Popping open the map, my desired location is far to the north. Traveling to Winterhold, the trek to the tomb was rather quick and uneventful. Vilkas, Farkas, and Ayla were already waiting for me inside.
This is the resting place of Ysgramor, and his most trusted generals. You should be cautious. Kodlak was right. I let vengeance rule my heart. I regret nothing of what we did at Driftshade. But I can't go any further with my mind fogged or my heart grieved. The original companions, their finest warriors, rest with Ysgramor. You'll have to prove yourselves to them. It's not that you're intruding. I'd wager they've actually expected us. They just want to be sure that you're worthy. Be ready for an honorable battle. Return Wuthra to Ysgramor. It should open the way.
One follower has already dropped out, and trust me, there's more to come. Placing Wuthrad in Ysgramor's hands, the hidden passage behind him opened up. Together, the 3 remaining companions charged on ahead. Vilkas was right about one thing. The ghosts of the companions past were waiting for us. They fought with axes, swords, shields, and bows. For some reason, the archers were able to inflict the most amount of damage. Their arrows pierced right through my armor and dropped my health by a great deal. Even after all of the nearby ghosts were defeated, I could still see red dots on my compass, and I heard the noises of frostbite spiders.
I can't go any further, Shield Brother. Ever since Dustman's Cairn, the big crawly ones have been too much for me. Everyone has his weakness, and this one is mine. I'm not proud, but I will stay back with Vilkas. Give my regards to Ysgramor.
With that, another follower has dropped out of the race. No matter though, as Ayla and I were still committed and willing. The next area saw us fighting, you guessed it, a whole bunch of frostbite spiders. Most of them were easy enough to beat, but there was one giant spider at the end. That one took a little more time and effort to vanquish, but the Huntress and I were able to make it work. Soon, we found ourselves back in the burial area, and we were once again battling ghosts. Honestly though, they were my preferred opponent, and you can never go wrong with listening to Michael Mack's lines. After fighting our way through a room filled with previous companions, we soon landed on the final chamber. At its center, I saw a bright blue flame. Just behind it was a familiar face. It was the spirit of Kodlak Whitemane.
Greetings, Shield Brother. Of course, my fellow Harbingers and I have been warming ourselves here, trying to evade Hircine. You see only me because your heart knows only me as the Companion's leader. I'd wager old Vignar could see half a dozen of my predecessors. And I see them all. The ones in Sovngarde, the ones trapped with me in Hircine's realm. And they all see you. You've brought honor to the name of the Companions. We won't soon forget it. Did he now? I can only hope. You still have the witches' heads. Excellent. Throw one of them into the fire. It will release their magic. For me, at least.
Turning my attention to the flame of the Harbinger, I interacted with it and placed the head on the fire. Moments later, I could see a great red wolf splitting from Kodlak's spirit. No doubt a symbol of the curse that plagued him. Soon, the spirit aggroed onto us, and Ayla and myself took turns swinging at it. Fortunately, it was a rather easy foe, and before long, the wolf spirit was vanquished.
And so slain the beast inside of me. I thank you for this gift. The other Harbingers remain trapped by Hircine. Perhaps from Sovngarde, the heroes of old can join me in their rescue. The harrowing of the hunting grounds. It would be a battle of such triumph. And perhaps someday you'll join us in that battle. But for today, return to your Jorvasna. Triumph in your victory. And lead the Companions to further glory.
Did I hear right? Did he say you were to lead the Companions? You've earned the right. Your strength and honor are apparent to all. And it's my honor to be first to address you as Harbinger. Let's go tell the others.
Before moving on, I thought long and hard about my own future in spirit. While Sovngarde may or may not be in the cards, I've never actually cured my characters of their lycanthropy. I've always found there to be more pros than cons to being a werewolf, at least in Skyrim. However, there's always a first time for everything, and considering I have about 4 more witches' heads, might as well put them to use. Casting another crown into the flame of the Harbinger, Ayla and I took on my wolf spirit. Again, not a difficult fight, and before long, I was rid of the companion's quote-unquote blessing. With that, thus ends the quest, Glory of the Dead, and that officially wraps up all of the main quests for the companion storyline. From this point onward, everyone addresses my character as the Harbinger of the group. Ayla already gave me her blessing, and speaking with the twins, they seem a-okay with it as well. While I may be in charge, or rather the advisor of the guild, I still get access to all of the menial tasks and duties. There are still random people who need to get slugged for unknown reasons, and there are dungeons to clear out. However, there is a rather interesting Radiant quest that's only doable with Farkas and Vilkas. At some point during your time with the companions, they'll individually ask you to help them cure their lycanthropy. Given that I defeated all of the Glenmoral witches and took their heads, the task was rather simple. I'd assume though, if you didn't have the extra heads, you'd have to go back to the cave and slay another Hagraven. The two brothers will be incredibly grateful, and they even express how much better they feel. Meanwhile, Ayla is still insistent that lycanthropy is a gift to the faction. She has no desire to cure her affliction, and she likely acts as a cornerstone for players who are in the same boat. With all of that out of the way, let's talk a little bit about this questline. Admittedly, it's been a while since I've played through the companion storyline. I remembered important details, but not everything. Something that apparently completely escaped me is the questline's length. In total, there are only 6 major quests for the faction. Furthermore, a couple of those are really simple and quite shallow. Take Up Arms serves as an intro to the guild and its characters. Blood's Honor shares some valuable lore, but the bulk of the action is as simple as slaying a singular Hagraven. Purity of Revenge doesn't have much dialogue attached to it, really at all, and it acts more like a tank and spank type of mission. I guess this is all a lengthy way of saying the companion's questline is short. I'm mentally prepared for a 2-day escapade, but the whole thing was done in a couple of hours. I suppose the bulk of the quests are meant to come from the Radiant missions, clearing dungeons, brawling innocent civilians, and taking on the Silver Hand. Again though, the issue is that there really isn't much story there. The player is sent off to random locations with the goal of doing random things. I've seen a lot of people compare the companion's questline to the Fighters Guild questline, although, in my opinion, it's hard to pin them against one another. Oblivion's story had almost 20 quests to it. Each quest has a meeting with different NPCs, exploring their backstories and getting caught up in their specific situations. By the end, the faction needs to make a big decision on what to do with the Blackwood Company. Meanwhile, The Companions is more so a story that deals with self-reflection as opposed to an external crisis. To me, it was all about Kodlak Whitemane. Kodlak, Vilkas, and Farkas don't want to be beasts anymore. They see lycanthropy as a rotten curse that's twisted the mentality of the guild. On the other hand, Skjor and Ayla believe that being werewolves makes them superior. They're stronger fighters and can therefore better perform their duties. To be honest, I think I lean more towards Kodlak's perspective. What would Ysgramor say if he knew of the Inner Circle's current state? Do you think the Nordiest of all Nords would appreciate Hircine's blessing, barring entry from Sovngarde, Skyrim's Valhalla, or do you think he'd be fine with it, seeing as how most foes fall rather easily to our fighters in werewolf form? Or do you think he just wouldn't care? It's a tough call, but given how much influence he had over the Companion's inception, I'm betting he'd feel strongly about their acceptance into Sovngarde. So in the end, while this is only 6 quests long, I feel like the story that Bethesda tried to convey was done rather well. In 6 quests, they introduced me to the faction, its leader, and its trainees. They revealed the Inner Circle's darkest secret and the division that comes with it. The Silver Hand plays their role, Kodlak is murdered before he can receive his cure, and the final quest has the remaining circle seeking a cleanse for the Harbinger. While it's done pretty well, it by no means is perfect. As stated before, I would have liked a little more dialogue for Purity of Revenge. It would have been nice to see more named NPCs for the Silver Hand, and even a quest where the player gets trapped by them and has to find their way out. The final boss, Kodlak's Spirit Wolf, was way too easy of a foe. A stronger opponent would have gone a longer way for me. And finally, instead of 13 Radiant missions, I would have preferred at least 3 more story-driven quests. Like I said, maybe a little more with the Silver Hand, possibly something with the other whelps of the faction, or really anything else at all. I would have liked to have seen just a little bit more from the companions. Not necessarily to wrap up Kodlak's story, but just for further immersion and gameplay. To me, I still don't feel like a companion, and I most certainly don't feel like the Harbinger. Through the quest, my character got to connect with other NPCs and share in their story. However, in terms of a questline for the faction itself, and becoming a member who's earned their stripes, I don't quite feel like I got there. With that, I'd love to hear your thoughts down below on the companion story. Members, thank you so much for your support. If you enjoyed this series, don't forget to like and subscribe. Until next time, keep on adventuring.